Hey, what's up? I'm Ashley. Thank you for watching this video, and today we're going to be talking about True Detective Night Country Season 4, Episode 1. And we open up the episode with a quote from Hildred Castaigne, who's a fictional character in King Yellow, which was prominent in Season 1. Then we see that it's December 17th, which is the last sunset of the year. We see this man getting ready to shoot this deer. I'm like, oh no, not the deer. Oh no. But before the man even had a chance to shoot, the deer ran off the cliff. They over there jumping, and I'm over here scared and worried for them, but they over there jumping. But whatever made them jump, I'm sure is going to be a big part of the season. Then we see the scientist, who's going to be another big part of the season, and we see them doing what looks like to be their normal everyday routine. Eating, working out, watching TV, and one of them is even recording themselves making a sandwich. But as he's doing that, he notices his friend is over there twitching. He starts shaking. Sandwich boy is like, what's wrong with you? You okay? What you doing over there? So he turns around and he looks terrified and he says, she's awake. She's awake. And then the lights go out, which happens a lot in this episode. And I noticed that they also say she's awake a lot. So I think that might be a big part of the season. Then we jump to December 20th, which is the third day of night. And the delivery driver is trying to drop off his deliveries, but he doesn't see anybody. The only thing he sees is somebody creepy running across the hall. Then the lights started blinking again. And that's when I would have ran up out of there. I wouldn't be sticking around to find the tongue he found under the table. He found somebody's tongue cut off. Whose tongue is that? After he finds this tongue, he calls the police, and that's when we see Liz, played by Jodie Foster, come in. This song by the Beatles is playing. When she first comes into the room, she's like, turn that off. I don't like the Beatles. But with the way she came in, I'm thinking that something deeper is behind that. We also meet Peter and Hank. Peter is Hank's son, and Peter is filling Liz in on everything that's been going on. And while he's doing that, we find out the scientist and where that guy found that tongue has been running for over 18 years, and they research things like biology, geology, and climate change. And I'm wondering, is that why the deer ran off that cliff? Does that have anything to do with climate change? They're trying to figure out how long the scientists have been missing. Hank over there talking about the ham is fresh. Okay, yeah, the ham is fresh. But Liz, with her common sense, she's like, the ham doesn't even matter. It's all about the mayonnaise. The mayonnaise is melted. So that lets me know that it's been a few days now. And I know this because there was a sandwich left in my car before for a few days, and the mayonnaise was melted like this. But Hank was barely paying attention to what was going on. He was on his phone. He was texting somebody, and I'm wondering who he was texting. We're going to get into her a little bit later, but I'm thinking he was texting Navarro because she's invested in this specific case. But before Liz leaves, she finds "We Are All Dead" written on this board, and I'm guessing that the scientist maybe wrote this. Who else could have? I don't know. Who do y'all think? If y'all think it's something different, let me know down in the comments. We get our first scene with Liz and Navarro, and they don't even like each other. Navarro is asking Liz about this tongue, and I'm wondering, how does she even know about this tongue? I'm thinking Hank told her because he was texting somebody and we don't know who it was. Navarro is wondering if that tongue belongs to this woman named Annie, because a case a while back, a woman was missing her tongue and Navarro just can't get over that case. But while Navarro is worried about this girl's tongue, Liz is over there joking about how she's able to speak to animals and spirits in her dreams. And because of that, and because of something that happens later on in the show, I'm thinking that this season is going to have a lot to do with the dreams as well. Then Liz gets a call to come get her daughter because her daughter is recording herself having sex with another girl. And as they're driving back home, they almost get into this car accident. Liz gets out the car to check on the other driver, and as she's walking over there, she gets what seems like this flashback. It turns to daylight, and then it turns back to dark. My theory is that maybe she was in a car accident before, and that's when her son died, because we did learn in this episode that she had a son. So maybe as she's walking to check on this lady, she's thinking about that car accident she was probably in. Let me know what you think. But as soon as she got to that car, she was roughing that lady up, threw her against the car. I wonder what else she would have did if she didn't remember that her daughter was sitting in the car looking at her. But maybe she was mad because that lady was drunk, and she's known to be the town drunk. So Liz was fed up. So we find out that Liz's daughter isn't her biological daughter. Her daughter tells her You don't have to be my mom. I wonder what's the backstory on that. They did have a conversation about drunk people, and her daughter Leah mentions how they never talk about that day. So I'm wondering, is that why Liz was so mad when they almost got into that car accident? So Liz is looking into Annie's case, and she needs Annie's files. So she calls up Peter to tell Peter to go over his dad's house to get Annie's case files because for some reason they're at Hank's house. So Peter goes over to his dad's house. He tells his dad that the reason why he's over there is because he told his son he would show him a picture of himself when he was his age. And he is able to get the file and bring it back to Liz's house. But first, we have to point out that Peter has a kid, and his kid is over there drawing dark pictures. Looks like they have blood coming out their eyes and down from their hands. So who is that? Also, Peter has a girlfriend, and I don't think it's gonna last because it seems as though work is gonna constantly get in the way. He ran and left her at the house once Liz called him to go get the files at his dad's house. So anyway, back to Liz and Peter looking through these files. They're looking through the files. They find out Annie was stabbed 32 times with an unidentified weapon. The weapon was never found, and it made star-shaped wounds. And they find out that her tongue was cut out, which was never recovered. We find out that she was a protester, which that made the miners and workers mad. And that caused her to have a lot of enemies. Later that night, while Liz is sleeping, she hears her dead son calling out her name. And you can also hear him say, "She's awake," just like before when the scientist did. And then what looks to be a kid's hand touches her shoulder. Was she dreaming? Was this real? And this is another reason why I think dreams is going to play a big part in this season. But because of what just happened to her, she's up now. So she gets out the bed, and when she gets out the bed, she finds this polar bear with a missing eye. Now, how is this polar bear involved? We see it in the opening credits, and we see this bear again while Navarro was driving, and we're going to get to that later. Let me know how you feel about Liz. We're going to talk a little more about her later, but we're going to get into Navarro. There was this physical altercation happening at this girl's job where her boyfriend came in there being abusive, so the girl's co-worker stepped in and hit the boyfriend across the head with the metal pan and knocked him right out. So when Navarro walks in, she's trying to figure out what happened, but she instantly takes the woman's side. We find out later in the show she has this thing about protecting women when they're done wrong. So she was automatically on the girl's side and arrested that man right on up. But as she's arresting him, she gets this phone call, and we don't know who she's talking to on the other end. My guess is that it was Hank, and he was filling her in on the tongue. That's just my theory. Navarro goes over Annie's brother's house, and I'm like, what's she doing over there? But she's telling him she thinks that the tongue could possibly be Annie's, and if not, how it can be connected. And they start talking about how she was a protester and how she wanted to make a change and how that made a lot of people mad. Ryan, Annie's brother, was saying how he would tell her how protesting would make a lot of people upset, especially the people in the mines. He would tell her all the time, if the mines got shut down, then that's it for the town. Ryan asked her if she believes in God. She says yes, and as she's telling him why, we get this flashback of her. We see her on like one of her missions talking to what seems to be a close friend of hers, but her close friend, whoever she's talking to, head was blown up and half of their head is gone. Now, this friend was trying to tell her something, but we don't know what she said. So later on, I'm sure we'll eventually find out. Now, what's interesting is how Navarro was getting into fights with the people in town and the people who worked in the mines. She would always get into it with this woman named Kate. And because she was so obsessed about this case with Annie, it forced Hank to take her off the case. And it demoted her down to a trooper. But what's interesting is if Hank is helping her with this case after he was forced to take her off the case. But then again, if he was forced, that means he didn't really want to. We meet Jules, Navarro's sister, and she's freaking out. She's having a moment because she's saying how she doesn't want to end up like their mother and how she doesn't want to go to the hospital. And now I'm curious, on how their mother was acting. This guy right here is who Navarro hooks up with whenever she gets ready. But before she left this time, he told her he won't be answering her calls anymore. I'll believe it when I see it. After she's done with him, we see her walking outside, and she ends up walking past the guy that she arrested for abusing his girlfriend at work, and he's talking about what he's going to do to her when he sees her. So after hearing that, Navarro pours some beer down this guy's gas tank. So is he going to crash? Is he going to die? And it all be her fault. So she gets in the car and she starts driving, and while she's driving, this polar bear comes out of nowhere, and this polar bear looks scary. It looks dangerous. Why it look like that? And this polar bear looks like the same polar bear that Liz found in the bedroom that was missing an eye. Because look at that eye. It's missing. Now back to Liz, because she's looking more and more into Annie's case. She's looking through these pictures, and in one of the pictures, it's a polar bear. Y'all, what's going on with these polar bears? But also, while she's looking through these pictures, she notices that Clark, that guy we was talking about earlier who was saying she's awake and who was tweaking out, is wearing the same jacket that Annie wore. So what's up with that? Liz goes to see if she can find the jacket where the scientist was at, but as she's doing that, she runs into Navarro, who was trying to find something connected to Annie. So Liz tells Navarro about this jacket and how she was trying to find it, but she's not gonna find it because Clark was wearing it. Liz then asks her why is she so invested in this case, and that's when Navarro tells her, you wasn't the first one on scene, you didn't see the body, you didn't see the abuse, and how they killed her with hate and they cut her tongue out to shut her up. And as they're talking, Liz gets a phone call to come down and look at this, and while she's on the phone, the lights start blinking again. Girl. But before we talk about what she was called down there to look at, we met this lady named Rose. And when we met her, she was cutting open a wolf. Just got it hanging upside down, cutting it open. And while she was doing that, this man showed up. Just came out of nowhere. And I'm like, ugh, who is that? Because he was looking creepy. Turns out his name is Travis. And Travis popped back up again and came right there to Rose. And this time he had her follow him while he was doing this weird, creepy little dance. You know, she has to be used to seeing him, because if it was anybody else, I doubt they would be following something like that. At the end of the dance, he points to something, and that's when Rose sees what he was talking about. And after Rose sees it, that's when she calls Liz, and that's the phone call I was talking to y'all about. After they get this call, Liz and Navarro go down to the scene, and when they get there, they find 3 dead bodies, 3 heads sticking up out of the snow. And I'm thinking it's a few of those missing scientists. Who did it? Who did that to them like that? Because that's kind of wild. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know your thoughts on the episode down in the comments so we can talk about it. And if you haven't already and want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one.